It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Call me Ishmael. To be or not to be, that is the question. Quoth the raven, nevermore. There are famous ones, the ones drilled into our minds from childhood, the ones we memorize before we even know their context. And then there are ones lesser known, but are ones no less. When I am king, they shall not have bread and shelter only, but also teachings out of books, for a full belly is little worth where the mind is starved. There is a wisdom of the head, and there is a wisdom of the heart. Not being heard is no reason for silence. I like that one. Something about words and their presence, the respect they command. It's an abstract force inside of the human identity that is vulnerable yet powerful. Since we are helpless without language, needing its service to merely exist alongside others, language then makes slaves of us all. Literature then becomes freedom, and whoever's voice is best understood by others is a voice that becomes the most valuable asset. The victory belongs not to the biggest man, nor the strongest man. The battle is not won by the man with the most money, nor he with the most weapons. It will not be won by the man most handsome or most popular. No, gentlemen, the victory goes to the man who lives in the bigger world. Thus Sandro Sebastian presents here a video from his publishing company, Boys Bleed. Let us delve into a lecture and decide whose voice we hear the most clearly. Whatever technology comes and goes, whatever social movements change the world around us, or at least trick us into thinking the world has changed around us, whatever rules are adjusted in society that change the shape of our lives and alter our sense of propriety, there will always be that golden thread that is constant throughout humanity's lifespan, the common struggles we all face, and turmoil that remains constant. Connecting with people you don't know from times long past, who haven't any personal stake in your endeavors, might be just the perfect unbiased third party to relate to, from a safe distance, in my own life far away from yours. Something about that distance, through time, space, and era, makes the activity more accessible and feel more appropriate. It helps when there is nothing at stake with this relationship, between you and the author you are reading centuries before you were born. There's nothing at stake, and yet there's everything at stake. There is no pressure to get them to reciprocate your feelings for them, or to commit to a full-time relationship, no pressure to decide where we take this to the next level, and no need for jealousy when I see other people admiring you as well. We need not plan some sort of future together or worry about the emotional baggage of your past and how it will catch up to you, damaging our level of intimacy. Then there is also the benefit of knowing that even if we are strangers and encounter each other only momentarily, that our interaction was not cheap or contrived or an attempt at manipulation to get what I want from you. Sound familiar? There was no conniving or deception involved. It was brief, it was short, but at least it was honest. Something moved inside of me that I suppose only you could move. And that's why we let you be famous. We remember you because we don't want to forget you. It's a unique kind of relationship where neither party has anything to lose, but everything to gain. We don't live in the same house, yet we still live together. We aren't family by blood, yet we are still related. We haven't met each other in person, yet we still know each other. I've never looked upon you with my own eyes, but I can still see you. And since I've only ever experienced the most enriching part of your personality, the part of you that is most charming, thoughtful, sensitive, well-trained and educated, the part that isn't afraid of the human identity, and most knowledgeable in what makes us vulnerable, because I've only ever communicated with that part of you, our interaction leaves no scar, no trauma to take into other relationships around me, unlike a toxic partner or family member who permanently damages my ability to create intimacy with others. My experience with a work of literature from a complete stranger, who lived centuries before I was born, this individual I will never meet, and maybe wouldn't even befriend if I did. This individual with whom I may have nothing else in common in terms of worldview or political beliefs. A person whose general identity is none of my business. This mysterious individual ironically helps me learn more intimacy, experience deeper empathy, and get me further in touch with the human identity and connect with those around me. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but, with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven. Ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by the angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend," I shrieked upstarting. "Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Sweets is a children's book about a young boy who receives superpowers by eating candy and chocolate. He begins a crusade in the night against evildoers and criminals, making headlines in the news. What follows is an account given by a boy who witnessed the young justice giver leaping through buildings in his neighborhood.
It's been just a few nights in the last month, but the kid, the one everyone's talking about on the news, he's been using our neighborhood. I swear, I'm not lying. He's jumping from building to building, running on rooftops and stopping bad guys out in the city. But my little alley out back, in our neighborhood, I think he runs through here sometimes. My parents both thought the news was faking, showing stories about the Superboy. But after we saw him run past us, across the roadway in front of us, we were driving home. I said, that was him. And they now think he's probably real. Mom still thinks it was just some other kid, and not the Superboy on the news. But really, for real, one night when I was in my room doing drawings, I saw his outline outside my window. I know he comes through our neighborhood some nights. It was like twice just last week. I always tell kids at school, but so do other kids. So no one believes anyone. I never got any decent photos either. Too dark out there at night. And no one would believe it's real. I totally heard a thump one night. I shot to the window, trying to wake up my eyes to see him. He had a box, and sitting on my neighbor's roof was eating these little cupcakes or maybe donuts. He sure scarfed them down real quick, like he went through a dozen in a few minutes. After eating, he stood. All I saw was outline in the moonlight, but he looked like he was looking at me. Was he stretching? Did he just wave? Whatever he did, he hasn't come back since. Guess he's shy.